She lifts her skirt up to her knees, walks through the garden rows with her bare feet laughing. I never learned to count my blessings. I choose instead to dwell in my disasters. I walk on down the hill through grass grown tall and brown, and still it's hard somehow to let go of my pain. On past the busted back of that old and rusted Cadillac that sinks into this field collecting rain. Will I always feel this way? So empty, so
6th. As a reminder, if you can silence your cell phones, hold any side conversations to a minimum. Also, continue to observe the COVID guidelines. Please wear your face masks. And when those in the camp, if you can find the orange dot and stand on that for social distancing. Current situation with acreage, it's fires 326,706 acres and 49% contained. For the rest of the update, Don Fraguglia.
All right, good morning, everybody. Don Fraguglia, planning operations. So we'll start up here at the zone break. Yesterday we did have a little bit of fire get across the South Fork of the San Joaquin River, and so we will be continuing to monitor that today and looking for ways to prevent that spread out to the north. Down around Mono Hot Springs, the fire stayed put last night, so we had a good night talking to night shift. They did not have to defensive fire around Vermilion Valley Resort just yet. Maybe today, if not tonight, that fire will get there and they will initiate some firing around Vermilion Valley. Mono Hot Springs, High Sierra Ranger Station all looked good last night. No issues, no concern. The crews were in there patrolling, mopping up, holding on to things. Division Papa was quiet last night all through the area there, and very few, if any, calls for service last night all the way down around Jose Basin and back to the zone break. So overall, fairly quiet night on the fire, and we did gain some containment, as you see here with the black on the map. And with that, have a good, safe shift.
Next, we have weather with John.
Good morning, everyone. John Pendergrast, incident meteorologist. Well, we're still under the influence of high pressure to start out today. The smoke that's been present from the previous burning activities and some natural spread is laid in the drainages and the lower elevations. And because of the light environment, the light wind environment that we're starting with today, that inversion lift is going to be somewhat delayed because of the smoke mainly. And also we're getting into the, start about mid-October as the sun angle starts factoring in with the slope heating. And so all that's going to factor in with the smoke and the heating to delay the inversion lift and delay the fire activity as well. So just keep that in mind as far as the afternoon progresses. We're going to see some light upslope starting to develop by early afternoon, but overall the winds upslope should be somewhat lighter than previous days. We'll still see some ridgetop gusts around that 13 to 15 mile an hour threshold by mid-afternoon. So have a safe day.
Next, fire behavior with Jeff Shelton.
Good morning. Jeff Shelton, Team 5 Fire Behavior. So the fire environment out there over the next several days is slowly starting to get more civilized. The RHs are trending up. It still sucks. It just doesn't suck as bad right now. A lot of what's going on out there today and in through tonight is going to be having to do with the smoke shading, and also we do have some high clouds that are over. The fuels are going to be slow to react with this little better RH that you're getting out there. Our probability of ignition is still going to be 60 to 90%. If you can see your shadow on the ground, you're cheating towards that 90% threshold. And all fuel sizes and classes are still available to burn during the burn period. The main difference you're going to see is that our burn period window is going to start cheating in. And so that prime time where the fire wakes up and starts to make its move is going to start to get compressed. So if your operation is dependent on firing today, if you're adding some energy to the environment, you're going to have to look at that. Especially as we start going out in the next couple days, that window is going to start to get compressed some more. You need to evaluate those factors that you're still looking at, especially with the terrain. The one thing that fire behavior is really sensitive to is wind. And so even though we're not going to have a lot of wind, we do have the fire in some positions, especially out by the hot springs and some other spots where there's slope. And slope mimics the effect of wind. And so if the fire starts moving upslope, it will cancel out all the good things that we're having with this stable atmosphere. And once that train starts rolling, it's not going to roll very fast, but it's going to start chewing through every fuel type because it's still really, really dry out there. So the current fire position, especially out here towards moving up the drainage, is at the toe of a slope with lots of fuel in front of it. And so if it starts rolling up that hill, expect it to continue to roll. I'm looking at that fire starting out in a smoldering phase wherever you are. When those triggers turn on and you see that air moving across the ground, it's going to go to active fire on the ground. And then at the peak of the burn period, you're going to see it climbing into the canopies. And then going into tonight, that whole process is going to reverse. The burning, if you have to burn tonight, may be becoming a little problematic in the middle of the night, more so coming up in the next several shifts. Have a safe shift out there. If you're seeing something different than I'm telling you, please get back to me. Thank you.
Next, we have roll call and operational assignments with John Goss.
Okay, good morning, Planning Ops trainee. We'll start with roll call here. For field operations today, McBath. For night operations, Prather. Branch 20, we've got Villa with a trainee of Prentice. Division Mike November, we got Marquez with a trainee of Kennedy. Division Papa, we have Hidalgo with a trainee of DeHart. At Romeo will be Olson today. Also have a night division, November Papa Romeo with Knox. Moving down to branch 25-29, we have Dunham. Sierra Union, Bianchi. Victor Whiskey, Honey. And X-Ray Zulu, we have Mac. And Suppression Repair Group, we have Wade and a trainee of Borello. Okay, as far as work assignments today, up in November, so 3 different activities going on in November today. So first and foremost is continue to defend those values at risk around Mono Hot Springs and the High Sierra Ranger Station. Also finishing up some last-minute prep around Vermilion Valley Resort and the PAC station there with the anticipation of potentially doing some burning this evening when conditions allow. Also in November, we've got some folks that will be cutting their way into Florence Lake there with anticipation of putting some wildland fire modules back in Muir Trail Ranch and Blaney Meadows. Moving on to Division Papa today. Also have a little bit more burning to do off the Stump Springs Road towards the main fire's edge. In anticipation of this evening there, the prep will be finished on the Kaiser Pass Road, Kaiser Summit area, with anticipation if conditions allow to begin some defensive firing actions as well. Also still maintaining a presence within the Huntington Lake area on that tactical patrol. Division Romeo still going after those last few remaining hot spots there. As you can see, we did add some black and just going after those focused areas there where we still have some uncontained fire's edge. Moving down to branch 25 and 29, Sierra Union still is where the bulk of the activity is going for that to finish up that last little bit of mop up and containment on the edge of the fire. Moving down the hill into Victor Whiskey and X-Ray Zulu. Those lines have been holding the last couple days, so they're in the process of pulling hose and getting all that equipment back into our supply there. And last but not least, the Suppression Repair Group, still focused within the Shaver Lake, south of Shaver area, as well as down in Vincent, around the Blue Canyon. And they're also starting to look into the Meadow Lakes, kind of Auberry area as well for some contingency lines that were put in the first few days of the fires there. And also on Stump Springs Road. So they've that Suppression Repair Group definitely is fully engaged in a couple different locations throughout the fire area. So priorities for today, definitely in November there with the defense of the values at risk out in November, and then Papa would be the second priority, and then followed pretty closely by Division Romeo. All right, have a safe shift.
Next, we have air operations with Ray.
Good morning, Ray, which air operations trainee. Smoke continues to be one of our big issues. We were able to fly in the afternoon, it cleared up. There will be no changes on the 220. We did manage to bring a heavy to Auburn Hella Base, so now we should have, equal, not equal, but at least one heavy on each side. Air Attack, we will have coverage with Air Attack and Helco. And then lastly, ordering up. If you guys need anything from the Helibase, please contact Air Attack or Elco first. If they're not up or you can't get a hold of them, then go to the Helibase. Other than that, have a great shift.
Next, we'll have safety with Brian Savage.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Brian Savage, Team 5 Safety. I just want to remind everybody that there's still a lot of nasty hazard trees and snags out there, and that's going to be the situation until it snows. So continue to do solid hazard tree assessments once you get out to your work areas. Conditions change overnight. The fire is still punking around in the root system, so a tree that was looked pretty good yesterday may not look good today. Also, Highway 168 continues to be high exposure for all of our people with all the driving and a lot of action on 168. That's going to also continue. And last thing I want to remind anybody that's driving a rig with any weight to it, that if you're driving from the top part of this fire and you're coming down 168, coming off the line, going to China Peak, or even coming further to Shaver, that's a gradual downhill the whole way. There's been some fires over the years that they've had some apparatus get hot brakes and have issues, and the operator's kind of like, well, it was downhill, but it didn't really seem much downhill. But it is a constant downhill, so be heads up for hot brakes. Thank you.
Communications with Ken Earl.
Good morning, Communications, Ken Earl. So today, the mission to shut-eye is finally going to happen on the ground. The road's been cleared. It's actually happening today. So the clarity of the system should improve. We won't necessarily improve the reach of each of the command repeaters, but the way that they tie together will be much more clear, and you'll be able to hear. With that in mind, Sierra Uniform has had some issues potentially with some of their communications, and so we are going to be going out there and getting some ground truth on the issue to make sure what repeaters hit in what areas, and if they don't, we have been in contact with the Sierra National Forest to use their forest net in the event of high priority traffic. It's not to be used for low priority traffic. Continue to use human repeaters if you need to, but in the event of an IWI where you're not able to exercise the system that we have in place, use the forest net as a backup. Okay? That's all I have. Thank you.
Medical with Jeff Carlin.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Let me first start off by saying yesterday, coming off of China Peak back down to ICP, we had a non-injury IWI and ran great. You guys did a good job out there, great comms. So keep up the good work. You know, every day I come up here and say, hey, have your plan in place. And yesterday it was demonstrated that you guys are out there. So I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Secondly, for your night shift, we finally got an EMT fill for you guys. So starting tonight, we'll have an EMT, but we'll only have one, and that's a lot of country. So recommendations for night ops is put him in the critical spot, but still utilize your EMTs and medics out there that you already have in the strike teams. Other than that, ambulance change yesterday. We did crew swap ambulance changes. So the numbers have changed out there, but still to and providing 24-hour care. And then lastly, again, front lines up and running up at China Peak for your care and comfort. Have a safe trip, or have a safe shift, and I'll see you tonight.
Closing comments with our Deputy IC, Carlton Joseph.
Good morning. Last night we continued one of the string of many public meetings that we've been doing virtually here from here at the ICP, and I just want you to know, those of you out in the field, you line-going folks in particular, the high level of interest that continues with the public that we serve. So there was a lot of questions they had last night about what it is you're doing out there. Our operations chief answered those questions successfully, but a lot of folks are interested in outdoor activities, things about Florence Lake, the high country, some of the improvements. So continue with the great work that you've been doing out there, and just know that the public is watching and that they do care. I want to also acknowledge the great safety record that we've had here on the South Zone. That's a tribute to each one of you and the work you do each day. and maintaining a focus on recognizing and mitigating hazards. Lastly, if there's anything that you need logistically, remember that the team is here to take care of you, to take care of the needs that you have. So if there's something you're not getting, please identify that. Let someone know in a blue team shirt, and we'll see what we can do for you. On top of that, thank you for the great work. Go out and have a safe, productive day. Thank you.
All right, that'll conclude our briefing. Any unassigned resources, find your operation chief in your respective camps. Also, the breakouts are posted around the camp. Our next operational briefing will be at 0700 tomorrow morning. There will be a cooperators meeting today at 10 o'clock here and also online. Next planning meeting will be at 1700. Have a good shift. Thank you.